Hello and welcome to Haircut and the Beard for another week. My name is Vader, aka Haircut, and I'm joined by my beautiful and bearded co-host who's back from Paris, the Beard. How are you, mate?
Very good, very good. That was an amazing high-energy intro. That was exciting.
That's the way I like to keep it. Get our guests engaged right from the get-go. Beard, how was Paris? You got your beard groomed and waxed. What happened?
How good does it look, by the way?
It's amazing. It's so long. It's down to your chest.
Yeah,
I feel like you could start threading it and knotting it into your chest hair.
Go for like a Game of Thrones look and start doing all those like cool things, like get a horse, just ride a horse around,
Have you ever seen that picture of that dude that like has a bird cage out of his beard?
Amazing.
Around his face.
I'm not sure if you know this, but the second you grow a beard, you become part of a group of people that idolize that guy. Like,
I
he
feel
becomes
like
a hero.
I don't know if you've seen the TV series Sense8, but I feel like you become connected at an unconscious
it's like
level.
a sister to the traveling
with
pants
anyone
kind of
else that
thing.
has a beard.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
Speaking of which, we've got a very special guest on the program today. He is he's the entrepreneur genius behind Future Horse podcast. He does Cynical cartoons. He does the Sandcast, and he's also our co-producer of the amazing new show Get Real Rob.
Yeah, it's a real smash hit, worldwide sensation.
This is, of course, the Elon Musk.
How's it going, you guys? And how's it going, listeners? Beard, I heard that you actually had to go all the way over to China. You have like a special, it's like an ancient Chinese secret sort of thing to get your beard groomed.
Yeah, you've got to like climb to this temple. It's all very like Kill Bill, you've got to climb up these like mountain of stairs. There's just this one guy and...
Yeah, or like that scene in Batman Begins, it's sort of like that. They train you to like embrace it,
Exactly right. It's kind of epic, but you got to do what you got to do. It's just part of having a beard. With great beard comes great responsibility.
I think we're mixing up our narratives now. This is more of a Spider-Man than a Batman sort of thing.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
true.
If this is your first time listening to the show, we like to talk about movies and TV shows, and we have a bit of fun along the way. We're going to start off with some news, and then this episode, what are we talking about, Beard? What movie?
We're going to be talking about Cloverfield Lane. 10 Cloverfield Lane, I should say.
Why 10?
Right, I was about to say, is it called something else in Australia? And it should be Cloverfield Lane, by the way. 10 Cloverfield Lane is a real mouthful and not a very good naming mechanism, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Exactly. But we will talk about it. Let's get in some news first of all. Very big news here. There's a Baywatch remake, and it's going to be amazing. The Rock's just come out on his Instagram and said that it's going to be raunchy, and it's rated R apparently.
Really?
R-rated?
Yeah.
Wow.
Have you guys ever seen the original? I don't even know if it was like a series or like a movie. What was Baywatch? I just know about Hasselhoff. I never watched it, the show or the movie, whatever it was.
It was a TV series, and Hasselhoff was in it from the start.
He was key.
He was the key player, and then I think it really became popular when Pamela Anderson joined the team, like season 3 or 4.
Huh.
Let's face it, you put someone running on the beach with the size of her boobs running on the beach in slow motion, you got a hit on your hands. Like, that's just a guarantee,
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, that's how they could have fixed Batman v Superman, is just get her running on the beach for, 15 minutes, intercut it in between the story. You got a hit on your hands.
Actually, it's not bad. I wouldn't mind touching on that movie as well, because it's been getting some pretty bad reviews, and I'd like to get Beard's take on it.
I definitely have some notes here about that. I'm guessing you've seen it, Tyler?
Yeah, absolutely. I saw it twice, actually.
Awesome. Oh, really?
Actually, since you've both seen it, I've got a question for you, and this was actually my next news item. Guess how much screen time Wonder Woman actually has in the new Batman vs. Superman.
Wonder Woman or Wonder Woman / Diana?
Wonder Woman / Diana.
Is it both, or is it just...
Wonder Woman, sorry. Just Wonder Woman.
Oh, Wonder Woman herself, like in costume.
Yep.
5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Yeah.
I'd say a bit lower. I'd go 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, something like that.
Wow, really? I thought you guys would overguess. It's actually 7 minutes.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah,
wow,
there you
okay.
go.
No shit. That's a lot more than I expected.
Well, that kind of backfired. I thought you guys would be like, 20 minutes, fucking 45 minutes. No,
Right.
7.
Well, I kind of lowballed it just because I was disappointed with how little time she had in the movie in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was a bit of a highlight for me.
And one of our fan favorite films here at Haircut and the Beard is Ex Machina. Great film. Alex Garland.
Oh, yeah, I just watched it the other day again, yeah.
Oh, so good. Oscar Isaac's amazing in it. They're teaming up again, both of them, Alex Garland and Oscar Isaac, in a new film called Annihilation. It's going to be pretty cool. It's based on a book.
Yeah, I've actually, Toomey, who's another guest that we have on our podcast quite a bit, has read some of the books, and he's just like, yeah, it seems pretty cool. Really, really interesting concept.
Do we know what it's about? It sounds very like sci-fi-y, and I know Garland himself is just like really into that kind of stuff. What is the movie actually going to be about? Do you know?
It is pretty sci-fi. I don't have the plot summary in front of me, but it's about like a bio agent that's released and wreaks havoc.
You know what this sounds like? This sounds like a secret Cloverfield movie to me.
It could very well be. All right, so there wasn't a lot of news that was fresh, so I've got just a list of 3 movies that are upcoming, and I'll hear you guys' take on it. The first one is a movie called Demolition with Jake Gyllenhaal. This guy can't do any wrong at the moment, and it's about a man who deconstructs his life after the death of his wife. Have you seen trailers for this?
I have seen the trailer.
Good.
I liked it. It looks really interesting. It doesn't necessarily look like the kind of film that I would enjoy that much. The trailer didn't really grab me, but it definitely looks like a good performance from him from what I've seen.
He's so good, that Gyllenhaal.
He's great. He's awesome.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything about it, but I've been sort of avoiding trailers lately. Like, I only just learned what Midnight Special was about like a day and a half ago, and that's coming out this week. So
Midnight. I haven't even seen that trailer. What's that about?
Yeah, that looks interesting.
You know, I said that I just learned what it's about, but I don't really know. I think it's produced by J.J. Abrams. It's got, like, Michael Shannon, and, like, it's, like, sort of an 80s sci-fi throwback, but I'm going to sound like a real idiot when I see it, and that's not at all what it's about.
I've heard some pretty detailed and, like, other podcasts talking about it. I'm pretty sure you're dead on with what you just said, so I think you're in the clear.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I saw one 30-second TV spot on the CW, and that was about it, so.
Another huge one's coming out. Disney's redoing The Jungle Book.
Uh-huh.
It's obviously a classic, and it's been done so many times, but I think this one with Bill Murray, Scarlett Johansson, Idris Elba, it's promising to be a good one. Have you seen trailers for it as well?
I think that, yeah, I've seen trailers for this one. I didn't know that it was coming out so soon also, but I want to believe that it's going to be good because Bill Murray's in it, but that's not exactly a mark of quality all the time, you know?
True.
Agreed.
It definitely raises it above average for a chance of a good movie, though.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Basically, if you take the average of all movies, there's a certain percentage chance it's going to be good. Say like 20% chance that it'll actually be a good movie. And then if it's a Bill Murray movie, it's probably maybe 22% chance.
Yeah.
And I think it has more of a chance to be good than, like, Maleficent or that Cinderella movie, which, I mean, they're going to make money, but, like, who cares, you know?
Batman vs. Superman proves that a movie can make money and still be terrible.
I'm glad you said it. Last movie on the list here of 3 movies coming up in the next month is huge blockbuster. It's going to sweep the box office, and it's called Barbershop: The Next Cut.
Oh, God.
I thought you were about to talk about Hardcore Henry, which looks pretty good.
No, we're skipping the promising ones. We're going straight for Barbershop.
Right. I haven't seen anything about this. What is Barbershop? The next evolution?
Well, yeah, you know, Ice Cube, he's still going, and that guy doesn't age at all. So he's like
shit, right?
He's like 80 now, and he still looks 30. So it's just
right.
He's just going to do another Barbershop movie. Fuck it, why not? It's a cash cow, right?
It's terrible. I am very excited about Hardcore Henry, though. That film just looks like every video game ever, the movie, and I'm definitely down with that action.
Yeah,
that's all the news that I have. Beard, do you have anything you want to chuck in there?
Yeah, I've got 2 just quick little ones. They've confirmed that they are going to do another Indiana Jones film with Harrison Ford playing Indy.
Right.
Which, you know, at least if they're going to do it, they're going to have Indy in it. It's going to be done by Disney this time, which I think is a good thing, because obviously they got all of the rights to it as part of the Star Wars deal. My only major hesitation is the fact that it's going to have the same writer as Crystal Skull.
Is that David Koepp? I think that he wrote Crystal Skull and also, like, Jurassic Park. I think the guy that made Crystal Skull actually made some really decent movies aside from that, didn't he?
Yeah, he does definitely have like some good films under his belt, but I have a lot of faith in this. I think it'll be okay. I think Crystal Skull was a bit of an anomaly, and with Disney at the helm, like, they can't do anything wrong recently. Everything they've done's just been great, so I have a bit of faith it'll be okay at least.
Yeah, I think actually it is David Koepp, and he's made some really decent movies. I think he wrote the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies as well, but I think that it's an interesting idea, but I think that they do need to recast Indy eventually, and I think that they should do it now rather than when it's, like, super obligatory. Like, I was fine with the rumors of, like, Chris Pratt as Indy, or Like, I don't think that they need to go too young with him. I think that Indiana Jones should be perpetually in his like 30s to 40s, and you could just put adventures in like the 1940s forever and just recast him every time like James Bond, and that could work out. So it's interesting that they're not going that route at all.
Yeah, I agree. If they're going to do it, like, don't make him like a freaking 21-year-old stud, you know? Like, he should be around that age. I definitely agree with that.
Right. And that's what they're trying to do with Han Solo as well. Like, make him, they're going for like Taron Egerton or something like that. It's like that guy looks like he's 14. That doesn't seem like Han Solo to me.
It's funny because he's actually doing, Harrison Ford's actually revisiting like all of his famous roles. Like he's doing, obviously we've seen Star Wars, he's doing Indy, and he's also going back and doing a Blade Runner sequel or prequel or something like that.
Right, with Denis Villeneuve at the helm of it.
I'm definitely down with that. I think that'll be fucking amazing.
Yeah, I really love Blade Runner. It's like one of my favorite movies ever, but I think that making a sequel to it is a bad idea, but all of the talent that they have involved to this point it looks pretty promising. Like, all the cast, the director is all pretty good.
Agree. If it has to be done, do it right. Very last one, and this is really amazing news for me. I don't know about you guys, but as a huge fan of the video games Half-Life and Portal, J.J. Abrams, who this podcast is a pretty big fan of, has confirmed that they're doing a Portal and a Half-Life movie. They're both in the works in pre-production at some stage.
That's cool.
Whether they're going to be part of the same film, I don't know, but I'm so excited about this.
Is Dan Trachtenberg involved? The director of 10 Cloverfield Lane also started out doing commercials, but making like a Portal fan film, No Escape, that was really, really just well liked by everybody.
Yeah, cool. That was actually my next little thing on the list here. You beat me to the punch, but yeah, it sort of ties in perfectly. But I'd love for him, because he's obviously a huge fan of the genre and the Portal universe. I'd love for him to helm it.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see what he's gonna do next. Like, it'd be hard to follow up. I mean, this movie sort of showing my hand, but I really liked this movie when I saw it a few weeks ago. And I mean, for a freshman director, it's really impressive, and I'm excited to see where he goes with it.
Yeah, agreed.
I actually had one piece of movie news, if you guys have time for it.
Yeah, let's do it. Chuck it on.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw anything about Suicide Squad this week, but they're going in for major reshoots to make it more fun, they're saying. Making the movie more fun.
Oh, really? Are you kidding?
And I like to see Warner Brother and DC's reactions to the reception of Batman v Superman. Like, they took so long to get this movie out. It really just floundered at the box office, or not at the box office, with critical reception and with fans. And now, like, immediately after the movie got sort of panned, like, Justin Lin, the director of Aquaman, was like, Aquaman's going to be fun, you guys. And they're going in for reshoots on this movie to make it more fun. It's like, interesting. I wish that I could actually get like a frank interview with the heads of Warner Brothers to be like, what is happening? Like, what is this?
That is unbelievable. I mean, it's good that they're reacting to it, but based on the trailer, it looks like it's a lot of fun anyway. You know, like, I mean, it must be a bit darker than the tone that they've sort of laid out in the trailer. Because, I mean, it looks like Harley Quinn, at the very least, is having a fucking great time in that trailer, you know?
Yeah, I'm excited for Margot Robbie. I was telling my cousin, like, I think that they're going to, like, take out some really fucked up scenes in the movie. Like, I just legitimately think that they went, like, super, super dark with it, and they thought that that's what they were going to base their universe on, and, like, Barry Allen as the Flash was just going to be, like, a fucked up murderer, psychopath or something, and now they're just, like, totally changing direction because people don't like that idea.
They had so much success with the Batman series going really dark with it.
Yeah.
And then kind of Deadpool's now come out and shown, you know what, if you're going to make an R18 movie and have it be a huge hit, you got to go super fun. You got to go super silly. So this episode we're focusing on the blockbuster, if you can call it that, film 10 Cloverfield Lane. Quick plot summary on this one. Soon after leaving her fiancé, Michelle was involved in a car accident, and she awakens to find herself in an underground bunker with Howard and Emmett. Has she been saved for an apocalyptic event, as Howard and Emmett tell her? Are there other motives for keeping her locked up in this basement?
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that the synopsis fails to mention that Howard and Emmett are actually dogs, like talking dogs. It's weird that they just don't mention that at all. Like, that really surprised me in the movie, but I don't know. It doesn't really seem like much of a spoiler.
They are such dog names too.
It's a really strange kind of continuation of Back to the Future as well, with Doc Brown being in this underground bunker now.
Yeah.
But seriously, what are you guys actually? Let's hear from Tyler first. What's your overall thoughts of this movie, just in a general sense? What was your feel going into it, and what were your expectations?
Sure. I had never seen Cloverfield before the original. I wasn't into horror movies until like a couple years ago, and when I saw the trailer for 10 Cloverfield Lane back in January with that like really, really awesome song, like that, it's just so well crafted, that piece of marketing, that I finally just checked out the movie. And basically between January and when this movie came out, I believe in the middle of March, I saw Cloverfield like 15 times. Like I just watched it like over and over again. It's a fantastically crafted movie. Yeah, it's really, really good. And then I went into this and I was just like so wrapped up in like the marketing, the alternate augmented reality game, all this stuff. I was just full on hype for this movie, and it didn't disappoint in the least. I saw it 3 times in theaters, and I would have gone again if there wasn't other stuff coming out, and if I had to like live a life, I would just watch this movie over and over again. I really, really loved it.
Wow. Yeah, I went in, I actually saw that exact same trailer. And you're so right. It was well crafted, and it was so good because it didn't give anything away.
Right.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, man?
Personally, I've got some stuff that I can only really go into when we go into spoiler talk. But I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was great. I thought that especially the performances and how tight and well structured it was. I think you mentioned earlier, Tyler, from a rookie director that had only really done commercials and a few like YouTube sort of short films. He fucking knocked it out of the park. Like that, the opening title cards, especially, I'm like, that it was really striking. When she initially has this accident, which happens in the first 30 seconds, so it's not a spoiler, but she has this car accident as she's rolling down the hill. It just flashes up the title of the film, and it just so striking and really just grabs you from the very first second. I thought it was wonderful.
Absolutely.
Story-wise, I thought it was really clever, really tight in the sense that you don't have a fucking clue what's going on. You really don't. You don't know. John Candy plays the most... John Candy? No, sorry.
That would be sick if it was John Candy, Uncle Buck in the basement.
Yeah. John Goodman, is that right? Yeah. Is just menacing and terrifying, and just... I've heard a lot of people say that it could be an Oscar-worthy performance. Like, I kind of agree, Like,
wow.
Can't imagine a film like this ever getting nominated for, supporting actor or anything like that. But his performance was just a gold mine.
His character was definitely 3D. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't single. It had a lot of different elements. He plays a creep so well, but in so many different ways. You could tell that this guy had just like was yes, he was like totally paranoid, but he was right.
Yeah,
and so he was like a little bit proud of that, and he was like super religious or something, where he couldn't stand that Michelle and Emmett were kind of getting along really well.
Yeah,
right.
There was some really terrifying moments.
And I think that it's interesting to see John Goodman's like career of just like putting in amazing performances as like sort of a character actor, even though he's always almost doing the same exact thing. But when was the last time you actually saw him in a leading or almost leading? Like this movie, he has like an equal 1/3 of the story pretty much. When was the last time you saw that? Because I've only seen him as a really super supporting character that shows up for 5 minutes and then leaves. And that's been his career for the last like 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, that's a good point. Really good point. Like, it's been a very long time. Like, yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, performance-wise, I personally liked all 3 of the leads in this film. I thought they all sort of carried their weight. I was a big fan of... What's the name of the other guy?
Emmett?
That was down in the bunker with him. Emmett, yeah. I really liked him. And I knew I recognised him, but I didn't have a clue who it was until about halfway through the film when I realised that it was the guy from... the newsroom. I had no clue, and he's just such a different.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Such a different character, and I'm like, I know you from something, but he was just so different, and that impressed me because I like his character in Newsroom as well. But I thought he was great.
So, unless there's more general stuff you want to talk about, I really want to delve into kind of spoiling this film. So, just heads up.
We kind of have to, don't we?
We
to
really
really
have
talk
to.
about it. Yeah.
So, heads up. if you're listening to this and you haven't seen it, I don't know why you downloaded this podcast because it's titled 10 Cloverfield Lane. But maybe
Get out of
just
here. Go
maybe
watch
just
it
pause
right now, you know?
Yeah, go watch it. We'll wait. We'll
what?
just sit here.
Stop. Go listen to Get Real Rob, episode 1, which is out now on the Adam Sandcast.
Right.
And then go watch Cloverfield Lane.
And then come back and listen to the rest. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to start off after we're talking about spoiler stuff. So I think it's important to mention this film wasn't initially linked to Cloverfield at all. The script had been banging around for a very long time, and when it was, I think, early in production, they said, look, let's link it into Cloverfield. Personally, and I don't know if I'm going to get some blowback for this, I personally think that was a mistake.
Really?
Because I'd already seen Cloverfield, the fact that it was tied in, I knew that there was something going on outside.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have been in a position where I could have believed that it was possible that John Goodman was lying to them from the start. In the sense that, maybe he's just crazy. I mean, he was crazy, but maybe he's just crazy and keeping him down there for his own selfish reasons. But knowing that it is linked into Cloverfield in any way, shape, or form, I'm like, I know there's something going on outside. Something big.
Dude, I'm in the exact same boat. I think, like, the whole... The fact... Let me say that again. I agree with you because when the movie starts out and you're totally engaged with this character getting locked in this basement and all these kind of plot twists are happening where, like, 1 minute you're like, oh my god, John Goodman's right.
Yeah.
1 minute you're like, oh my god, he's a fucking creep. And then, of course, he fucking takes out Emmett hardcore.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you're like, holy shit, shit's escalating really quickly. The thing that this movie was great, and the fact that you said it was a script prior to it being linked in with Cloverfield makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Because that whole bit is great. And then the minute she gets outside, I was like, okay, so I got to go.
It's one of those films now.
I got to go pay for my parking in 10 minutes when the movie ends. And it was just like, I checked out completely.
I've got a major bombshell to drop on you guys right here. Like I said, I was super excited for this movie. I knew that the script was online. I did not read it before I saw the movie and that took a lot of dedication because I had heard that it was really similar. The script is called The Cellar, and it was written by this writing team. I don't remember what those guys' names were. The script never has basically a second of doubt as to whether or not there's something going on outside. It's very similar plot-wise to this. It's very similar tension building. Some of the characters are very different. Like Emmett is a very, very different character in that script, and it's well worth reading. It's called The Cellar if anybody just wants to go look up, The Cellar PDF online.
That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it's really well crafted, and it just kind of shows you the directing in the movie is excellent, but it really, even before Damien Chazelle came on to do a rewrite of the script, it was really, really excellent. And basically the main problem that I had with the script is that the third act just is sort of like this third act, just without aliens and with John Goodman being the main villain. And then she gets out, there's one big expensive effects shot, and then that's the end of the movie. And it's basically like if this movie cut off 10 minutes earlier, right before the big confrontation where she takes off the mask and then she looks over a hill and Boston is destroyed, and that's the end of the script. And it's like
that would be so much better, man. That would be so much better. Yes, absolutely. Like I read this book called Save the Cat, and I go on about it a little bit in a whole series. It talks about kind of I don't know if you've ever read this book, Tyler, but it talks about the components that make a good movie and how every movie that is good, its story fits into this particular arc.
Right,
so
like
the Act 1.
Like the Joseph Campbell hero's journey, or like if you pick up any script that's going to be bought by Hollywood, you skip over to page 45, there's going to be an explosion,
Yeah, well, precisely. Like there's certain things that are required to happen for a plot to be driven forward and for there to be enough tension and enough release for it to be enjoyable. Right. One thing that Blake Snyder says in his Save the Cat book, which is, it's a very, very good book, and it's looked at as very true. It's a true to life theory. One of the things he talks about is this thing called double mumbo jumbo, and it basically means that you can have one element of magic occur in a movie, and audiences will believe it. But if there's
it's
two
the magic
elements,
bean theory.
Yeah.
That was the issue that a lot of people had with Looper, is that there's time travel and ESP, and they don't like that you put the two things together.
Exactly. See, this is the problem with this movie. The first bit of magic, or the first bit that you have to believe, the first bit of magic is that she's been basically attacked and taken down into this basement. That's the first bit that you kind of have to believe that is a little bit far out, that there's been some sort of attack and she's in this basement. The second bit, which is where she breaks out and she sees that there's literally aliens flying around, that's too much. That's the second bit, and that's where I was like, dude, why? So what you're talking about with the Cellar script, where it ends, she gets out, she takes off the mask, and she sees that Boston is destroyed, that would have been such a better ending than fucking aliens attacking her.
I actually have to disagree with you here, because I have heard that theory before, and like I brought it back to Looper because I heard people like complain for hours incessantly about Looper. Because the main complaint with Looper was that you have ESP, you have time travel, and they're not linked. Like, the ESP didn't cause the time travel didn't cause the psychic powers. And here, I think that they're intrinsically linked. I think that because the aliens created the dirty bomb or the gas that's making people's skin rot, it's this happens because this happens, and not this happens and this happens and this happens.
They're tied together, yeah.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like, you can make the argument, certainly, that because they're tied, they're still one thing. But I think the fact that you only find out that it's... you only find out for certain that it's aliens in the last 10 minutes, that's what made it so bad. And that's what makes it a separate piece of magic for me.
And that was also a lot of people's issue. I mean, I think that you can apply that also to, like... Sunshine, the Danny Boyle film, or like even Psycho. It's like
film.
People don't like something where the plot seems like it's going one way and then it changes directory halfway through.
Yeah.
I guess I was more disappointed because I'm a big fan of the apocalyptic event happening by through human causes as opposed to aliens. But...
Right.
I personally was somewhere in the middle. I was a bit disappointed. I was kind of hoping that if they're going to link it into Cloverfield, they'd get out and there'd be some form of Cloverfield monster similar to Cloverfield. I liked that there was something crazy going on, but I don't know if the aliens bit really hit home for me. Right. But I wasn't necessarily down on the fact that they get out and there's like all this crazy shit going on. But the aliens didn't necessarily crush it for me. But I still love this fucking film. I really do. Especially the first two acts I thought were just amazing. Really, really tense and like you're always guessing. But the fact that it was named Cloverfield, I didn't have to make that guess because I knew there was something big going on outside. That was my biggest complaint. But beyond that, I still loved it. As you said earlier, Tyler, I can't wait to see what's his name? Dan Trachtenberg or whatever? I can't wait to see what he does next.
Well, so do you guys really understand like exactly why it's called Cloverfield, or have you not looked into it very much?
No, I haven't looked into it. Shed some light on it, man.
I've looked into it a little bit, but my understanding was John Goodman's character was working on the one of the ships. Is that? I'll let you talk. I'll let you explain.
Yeah, that's pretty close. It's basically like different dimensions. It's like different timelines or parallel realities or whatever it is. It's basically like an anthology series like Twilight Zone or like, Outer Limits or, whatever. And so every single movie is going to be sort of only linked tonally. Like, I would say that this movie is pretty tonally, it has some similarities to Cloverfield, but the Cloverfield monster attacks from 2008 didn't happen in this continuity, in this universe. So the real linking factor in all of this is sort of that they're taking, like, it's sort of a throwback to, like, 1950s sci-fi with, like, aliens coming down or kaijus, and then the next one will probably be something like, Invasion of the Body Snatchers or The Blob or some other kind of 1950s sci-fi like franchise that needs revitalizing. And the common link between all of it...
I've been waiting for a Body Snatchers remake for a very long time. I'm surprised it hasn't happened already, but I fucking love that whole concept, and I'd love to see the same sort of team or group of people work that in some way into this sort of universe. That'd be fucking amazing.
So sort of the linking concept between all of it is this company, this is all part of the augmented reality game that, viral marketing campaign. And there's this company called Tagruato who basically they caused the Cloverfield attack in 2008 by doing like this deep sea drilling so that they could get the seabed nectar that's like super addictive, and they could put it in this like freeze drink that they sell at gas stations called Slusho. And they also have a subsidiary that's doing like deep space research that caused the aliens to find us and come down in this parallel universe. And they also have like other subsidiaries that they're looking into other things, which are going to cause the next movie and the next one after that.
No shit.
So funny. This company just keeps on fucking up. Like, it's like, okay, we're going to see, we'll go and get some sweet nectar. Oh, shit, aliens. All right. What is the exact opposite direction that we can go? We don't want to disturb more aliens.
Space.
Let's go into space. Oh, shit, more aliens. We're surrounded. Which way are they going to go next? Onto another planet? Or, just what they're going to be doing? They're going to be just going to the supermarket. We're just going to be literally buying up Tide laundry detergent, and they're just going to find aliens inside of it.
Right. So that's the thing, though, is that like the companies are sort of like barely intrinsically linked to the monster. Like they were digging under the ocean, and they woke it up because they were trying to make like basically slushies that they sell at 7-Eleven. And so like the other companies that they have, one of them is like medical research. So that'll probably be, I mean, hopefully not zombies, but maybe, I don't know what that could be. And then there's one that's like based around like bee wax or something like that. So who knows what that is, but I'm excited to see.
It makes me think of that Futurama episode with the giant bees.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Either way, I'm excited for what they do next. Like, I love the tone of the films. I rewatched, I've watched Cloverfield about 10 times prior to this film, and I've watched it since, and I just love it. I think it's such a great film, and I really enjoyed this, so I'm down for whatever they do next.
Okay, so overall, let's look at a rating for you guys. I mean, for me personally, I think it's going to be a little bit lower than you guys. You guys really seem to enjoy it. But how many barrels of acid out of 10?
Yeah, I mean, if I could, I'd give this movie 12 barrels of acid, but I think that I'll just be conservative and say 10.
No, really? Are you serious? You're going to give it 10 out of 10? You think this is a perfect movie?
I do, and I mean, I have been like desperately looking for flaws in it, and I just decided against it. I mean, for a movie that cost $15 million, this is fucking incredible, and I hope that it brings in like a new wave of mid-budget sci-fi, and I don't have any issues with it at all. I'm excited to buy it on Blu-ray.
I'm a big fan of the high concept sci-fi stuff, but the ending just ruined it for me. The whole middle of the film, the meat of it, it was fantastic. Right. And if it was just that, I'd be giving it more like a 9. But the fact that the end came in and just ruined it for me, I got to stick with a 7.8.
I personally, I'd be giving this, like somewhere in the low 9s if it wasn't for the fact that the title and everything outside of the film kind of fucked it for me. If this film was called The Cellar and was the exact same film but not tied to Cloverfield, I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more. I'd probably go somewhere in between you guys with probably about an 8.5.
8.5, 7.8, and a 10 from Tyler. You know what? I just thought of this. How good would it be if it was called The Cellar, right? And then it's exactly the same movie to a T, except for the title. And then right at the end, that's when they kind of zoom out. You can see that it's 10 Cloverfield Lane.
That would have been amazing.
Been great.
Yeah, that would have been great. But I understand why they did it,
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you're trying to continue the story of a movie from 8 years ago, then you have to be like super, super blatant. Like, this is the continuation. We are wanting to make this into a franchise.
Yeah.
Go see this movie if you want more stuff in the same tone from Bad Robot.
Yeah. And I understand that. Like, it makes sense, and I would have done the exact same thing if I was the producers, filmmaker, whoever makes that call. But it just, let me down a little bit. But it was still great. Loved it.
Now, let's have a chat about another movie here that you guys are seeing. I actually haven't seen it, so I'm going to leave most of the talking up to you guys. Batman versus Superman featuring Wonder Woman. What's this thing called again?
Batman versus Superman featuring The Flash.
BVS Dawn of Justice.
Yeah. So, I mean, I want to preface this by saying I am the target audience for this film. I love Batman. Superman's okay. I'm a comic book nerd from way back in the day. I was one of the few people. I'm a Man of Steel apologist. I actually loved that film and thought it was great. I think Zack Snyder is a bit hit and miss. but at the very least, his movies look like butter on the screen. Like, they just look beautiful. And this film just crushed my spirit. Absolutely crushed my spirit.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I have a proclivity to give everything a 10 out of 10, but man, like, fuck this movie, right? I mean, it's not great. It's not bad. It's just like super fucking weird. And I actually kind of admire the audacity to make a movie like this. Like, it reminded me a lot tonally of like Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like, it's just this accumulation. They just compound so much shit into this movie, but really the plot is barely there. So many people obviously cared about this movie. Like, Ben Affleck put his like heart and soul and shit into this thing, and like it just falls on its ass. It's weird.
I just want to, like, I'm going to become the guy that brings up this shit every time now, but I think this film started off as a as a Superman sequel to Man of Steel, and midway through the film, they decided, holy shit, look, Marvel's killing it with all of this, the Avengers and all that kind of stuff. We need to sort of kickstart the Justice League, and they just piled all of this shit into this film just to try to jumpstart that franchise. And I think that's what ruined it. I mean, there's literally a point midway through this film where they have a 2-minute trailer for other fucking films. Like, there's a bit where Wonder Woman's watching these like little clips of
Flash, Cyborg, Aquaman, and herself.
Oh, and it's just like, you're literally showing me a trailer midway through one film for another film. Like, it's just so...
And the really sad thing about it, though, is that Man of Steel was 3 years ago. And, like, they had 3 years. Marvel's been putting out 2 to 3 movies a year, or 2 movies a year, for the last 3 years. And, like, when Marvel makes a movie that people hate, like, people didn't like Thor 2 or Iron Man 3, they're just like, fuck it, let's go ahead, let's try and do better next time. Let's make... I mean, we wouldn't have gotten Winter Soldier or Guardians of the Galaxy if Marvel just decided, like, oh, people didn't like that one, let's just wait 3 years to put out another movie, you know?
Yeah.
So it's weird that they waited so long that now they have to rush to get something out. It's like, this movie feels so rushed because they fucked up, and now they're like backtracking to try and fix Justice League and fix Suicide Squad in post-production. And it's just a weird situation.
Yeah, I could not agree more. You just like totally articulated my feelings like 100%.
I think about it 24/7. I mean, it's been an obsession for me trying to figure out what's going on at Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't seen this film, but I did hear a little bit about it. I want to ask you guys about it who have seen it. I've heard that, I mean, the Batman vs. Superman, obviously the title of the film.
Yeah.
I've heard that battle is literally the first maybe 25, 30 minutes of the film. And then after that, it's just team up like every other fucking verse movie there is.
No, their fight is like pretty late. I'd say like end of the second act. Maybe start of the third.
It's like an hour, 45 minutes into this 2 hour, 20-minute movie.
2 hours, 20 minutes.
It's a long film. Like, they had a lot to sort of cram in here. And you know what? Look, I actually kind of enjoyed, there was elements of that fight that I kind of enjoyed. I mean, who doesn't want to see, like, two of the biggest titans of the comic book universe, like, you know, going head to head? And I think some of that was handled well. There was a lot in this film. I want to make it very clear. There was a lot in this film that I really enjoyed.
Me too, yeah.
Especially the story. The story just was not coherent, was not cohesive. They kept on having these weird dream sequences, and they didn't really give you a clue or have any visual or audio cues that we were now watching a dream sequence. And some of these dream sequences went for like 10, 15 minutes, you know?
I saw this movie twice in theaters, and I may go again, because I love bad movies. Not as much as I love good movies, but I mean, I just love to like watch something fucking weird and dissect how it ever got made and how anybody thought it was a good idea. Like, that's how most of my podcast goes, just watching weird stuff and figuring it out. I mean, I enjoy the movie. It's not a boring bad movie. It's just like this weird fucking movie. Like, I mean, it's so... I think the main issue is that they take so many influences from comic books that I love, and they just make them shitty. Like, I love Dark Knight Returns. It's my favorite comic book of all time.
That's mine too.
That animated feature is really good, and it just like everything about that Batman v Superman fight was just like base Frank Miller. Like, they're just ripping him off in like the worst kind of way possible, and not even doing anything interesting with it. They're just paying homage without really anything. I mean, they don't do anything really that interesting with that. And the most interesting part of this movie is the thing that I thought I'd hate the most, which is Lex Luthor.
Yes, yeah. He was like Lex Luthor was basically he was in a totally different film. The tone and his performance, everything was basically from a different film. Like it was as if they were never on set at the same time. There was a different director, or whoever was giving him the cues to act the way he was not part of the rest of that film. You know, it was drastically different. But I did enjoy his performance. Like he was frantic and crazy and weird, and I don't know.
It's so interesting because I've only ever liked Jesse Eisenberg. I loved him in Social Network. I hated him in everything else except for Adventureland, which I thought was a really sweet movie that he's pretty good in. And I just expected to hate this. And like the second that he comes on screen and starts doing his like fucking, oh, look at me, I'm a little leprechaun, I'm running around, I'm doing crazy stuff. It's like you have to hate it, but then I just couldn't hate it. Like it just impulsed me to love it, and it was my favorite part of the movie, and I hope that they don't retcon him out of the story after this.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I've heard, I won't articulate this perfectly because I can't remember the exact quote, but I read a review about one of his films and they said Jesse Eisenberg is like the one person that does not need to be liked to keep on being an actor. Like, he's okay with you hating him in every film he's ever been in and still being amazing in those films. And I just think that's the best explanation of him as an actor that I've heard.
Yeah, and I think that it's when he's trying to be like a personable, oh, look at me, look at how quirky I am, I'm in Zombieland, isn't this crazy? Like, that's the worst kind of roles that he can do because he's just not a likable person, and that's fine, That's fine.
I think another one of this film's biggest flaws is there was just no levity at all. It was dark to the point of being almost oppressive.
And whenever they do try and bring in levity and make a character that tells joke, it's just like Perry White is the worst part of this movie, and he's so unfunny because whoever wrote this doesn't know how to tell a fucking joke.
Out of interest, like what would you rate this out of 10?
I think that I'd give this movie like.
Let me rephrase that. Sorry, just quickly. How many Batman brands on the neck would you give this film out of 10?
It's an odd situation because like if you look at a movie like The Room or like Amazing Spider-Man 2, if I'm rating it on quality, I would give it like a 3 out of 10. But if I'm rating it by enjoyment level, even the moments that I fucking hate, I just love to hate. So I would give it as enjoyment like a 7 out of 10. But if it's quality wise, it's like a 4.
I'd have to agree with that. I'd be somewhere around the 6, 5, 7 sort of range. I think they had a core misunderstanding of who Superman was, and although I
and Batman
Ben Affleck,
too.
Or they certainly picked like a very specific Batman from the comics, like the one that's more than happy to kill people and is old and grizzled, and they sort of hinted at the fact that he lost Jason Todd in this universe, and.
Right, but I don't think that Batman really exists in the comics. Like, in Dark Knight Returns, Bruce Wayne is using guns when he needs to, but he doesn't like using guns, and he tells people at the end, he says, like, this is the weapon of the enemy. We don't use this. This is an uncivilized weapon. And it's like, the Batman that we see in this movie is just, they arbitrarily change things just because Zack Snyder thought it'd be cool to have Batman use guns and kill people, but it doesn't make any sense in the story.
Out of interest, because you sound like you know comics like a bit better than myself.
Oh, I'm a real guru.
Is there any universe in which Batman brands people?
The DC cinematic universe. I've never seen that. No, I've never seen that in a comic. But I have really only read the Batman New 52 stuff and a lot of his like, graphic novels like Long Halloween, stuff that everybody's read. So no, I've never seen that before. I don't know.
Yeah, I've never seen it either. I'd never heard of that, and I thought that was a bit strange.
Yeah, I mean, strange is one word for it. I think so much of this movie is just so ill-advised, and I'm actually really excited. Like with a movie like this or like Fantastic Four from last year, like I wish that we could just see the movie that they would make as a sequel if they just said like, fuck it, let's make another movie that's like exactly like this. But I just know from their reaction to Man of Steel that with their next movie, like Justice League, they're going to change so much about the script and probably have delays and reshoots and all that. because they're just
Exactly.
obsessed with what people think, and people hate these DC cinematic movies.
My last question before we move on. So Zack Snyder is midway through April is apparently going to start shooting the sequel to this.
Right.
Do you think there's a universe in which that is going to happen without massive rewrites or possibly him getting ripped off the project entirely? Do you think that's going to happen, or do you think that there's going to be massive changes before it goes ahead?
I think that DC and Warner Brothers have backed themselves into a corner by making Zack Snyder the head of their cinematic universe. Like I was saying earlier, I want to hear somebody at that company talk frankly, because when you see them in interviews and stuff like that, Zack Snyder, Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, all are just saying we don't care what the critics think. We just care what the fans think. But the fans hate the movie too. So really they only care that it makes $1 billion, which is a really sad situation to be in, because that Ben Affleck does care about reviews, and that's why he made movies like Argo and The Town and Gone Baby Gone and Gone Girl. So I think there's going to be major rewrites. I think there's going to be script delays, and I think that Zack Snyder should be kicked off the project, because if this is the best he can do, it doesn't make the cut. I loved it and I want to see more, but that's because I love to see a terrible train wreck. And I actually want a good Batman movie. So get somebody else in there. We need a new creative direction.
Yeah. Apparently Ben Affleck is going to do a standalone, he's going to direct and star in a standalone Batman film. That I would be very curious to see.
I think it's interesting because he didn't like the original script for Batman v Superman, so he brought in his Oscar award-winning screenwriter buddy Chris Terrio to rewrite this movie, and it still came out like it is. So who knows what's going to happen,
I like your ratings. They're a lot more extreme than ours. Rob and I kind of keep sitting around the between 6 and 9 level. Yeah. And we're like, should we give it a 7.2 or a 7.3? And you're just
Bam,
give Cloverfield a fucking 10. Batman, Superman, I'll give it a fucking 3.
Yeah.
but I don't give movies a 10 out of 10 very often. I think that 10 Cloverfield Lane's a really well-crafted movie, and it's the best that I've seen this year so far. And I put it up there with Ex Machina from last year. It's just really just well-crafted sci-fi and stuff that we need more of.
All right. Awesome. Should we wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up. Let's
Fantastic.
do it.
Yeah, sure.
Should we wrap it up? Excellent. Well, first of all, we'd like to say a big thank you to Tyler from the Adam Sandcast, Cynical Cartoons. He's the genius behind all Future Horse pods. Tell us, Tyler, where our audience can check you out.
Yeah, like you were just saying, Cynical Cartoons podcast. You guys are on the Adam Sandcast with me. We're talking about Rob Schneider's Netflix original series, Real Rob. And from what I've heard, Rob Schneider has shunned us. He has blocked you on Twitter and won't let you see any of his tweets or tweet to him anymore.
I mean, this is a bombshell we're going to be dropping on, I think, episode 4 of Get Real Rob, which is soon upcoming.
That's a month away, by the way.
Yeah, we've been totally blocked by Rob Schneider. So we put some cheeky tweets up about him and we tagged him in. And I think we've achieved our mission. He's paid attention to us, but he's blocked us on Twitter. But you know what? I've got one bit of good news, that his wife actually has favorited one of our tweets. So on the other end of that, I think we might be the cause of a Schneider divorce.
So there's that. You can follow me on Twitter at FutureHorsePod. I rarely ever tweet out funny stuff. I usually just promote my own shit, but sometimes I say something insightful. And
and they can hit you up, no doubt, and get a mention on the Get Real Rob show as well if they've got any questions for us, or they just want to tell us how bad they think the show is. Of course, we're Haircut and the Beard. I'd like to thank my co-host as well, the Beard, for joining us.
It was my pleasure.
Beard, and my name is Haircut Vader, and Haircut and the Beard is now out.
See ya.